Greetings, nerdlings, and welcome to AmalgamNation. Today I'm bringing you the review of Classic WoW, what I think about it, what I hope happens with it in the future, how I think it could be improved, and things like that. For a start, I've been playing Classic WoW since it launched. And I've been loving it. At first I started off as a warlock, but that character class just doesn't suit my playstyle at the moment. Maybe when I've got the help of friends, I'll be able to do more as a warlock. It'll be a lot easier. I've been leveling a hunter instead now. I almost always play as a hunter in Warcraft. I have since vanilla played as a hunter, and playing it in Classic is bringing back so many memories, but there's things that I remember wrong and different. Like, there's abilities that didn't come in until the Burning Crusade that I loved and I remember better than I remembered their versions in the original vanilla. Such as how traps work in Classic for a hunter. You have to drop the trap before combat. In the Burning Crusade, you could drop a trap during combat, which was absolutely fucking amazing, and I miss being able to do that, because now that I'm in Classic, I still love being a hunter. I still love the effects of the traps. Each of the traps feels different and good and bad in its own ways, and they have their situational uses. But I don't like the fact that if I'm in a dungeon, 99% of the time I don't get to use my traps because I'm not in control of the combat. It's up to everybody. The gameplay just feels so much different as well compared to retail WoW. When I last played Battle for Azeroth, which was over a year ago now, when it launched, I wasn't enjoying it. It just didn't feel right. I can't explain it. It's one of those inexplicable feelings. But it didn't feel like proper World of Warcraft to me. I couldn't tell you exactly what it was because, as I said, it's inexplicable about why I felt that way. I just know that when I was playing it, I liked all the features of it. I liked the graphics. I liked a lot of the skills and talents, although there's very few in retail these days. But what there was, I liked. But as individual aspects of the game, I liked them. When you put them together as a whole, I simply did not enjoy the whole package. It just wasn't for me, and I haven't logged in since. Now, I've heard things from people I play Classic WoW with saying that it has improved since then. So, during the next big patch, well, when they launch the next big patch, I'm going to go and give them a second chance. Now, things I want to see change in Classic are quite simple things. Like, I'd love to play Classic with the modern models and textures. I think it would be absolutely amazing if it had better graphics. Not that the graphics are an awful lot better in retail, or that the graphics are horrible in Classic. Just, I like the newer models for the Night Elves and the High Elves and so on in retail. it just looks and feels nicer graphically in retail. I like the talent trees for Classic. It's one of my favourite things about it. Another thing I'd like to see would be them eventually launching the Burning Crusade, followed by Wrath of the Lich King. But that's where I want things to change, is beyond those two, because going purely based on memory of how it felt at the time, Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King didn't feel like they made an awful lot of changes to the game. They just added on to the game. You went to new places, but the old places were still pretty relevant, and you could still go to them, and it was... the newer content was completely separate to the older content. The older content led into the newer content. When they did Cataclysm forward, that changed. Now, I loved some of the stuff from Cataclysm, don't get me wrong. But, like phasing, I loved the phasing of zones that they brought in Cataclysm. I think it's interesting to quest through a zone and see changes happen every so often, so that you can see the effect you're doing those quests had. So if you go in there on a character that hasn't done those quests, it's a completely different zone. I love that, but I don't want Cataclysm the way it was, skill-wise and talent-wise. I'd like to see something where we keep the talent trees we have when we get to the end of Wrath of the Lich King. But say you can learn a dual class. You can pick up a second class in the newer version of Cataclysm. Make it into WoW 2.0 or 3.0, depending on your perspective. Because I know Bellular says that we've already had a WoW 2.0 before, and that we constantly get new WoW 2.0s. He said that recently that Cataclysm was an example of a WoW 2.0, and that Pandaria and so on, and Warlords of Draenor and Legion, every single one of them made big changes to the game, and they were WoW 2.0s in their own ways, which I agree and disagree with him on that. Depends on your point of view, but I can see where he's coming from. So what I'd like to see is a dual class, rather than you getting to be one class and constantly going power. You can learn some of the abilities of a second class in the new Cataclysm. I'd like to see the content from the expansion packs that were released come to Classic eventually, but with changes made like that, so that you still have all the talents. If you started as a hunter, you're still a hunter. You've still got your 71 talent points at the end of the Wrath of the Lich King. Progressing into Cataclysm, you then get, or a Cataclysm-like expansion, you keep those talents, but you don't level up your hunter anymore. You can pick a similar style class, so that you can't become a plate-wearing hunter, for example, but you can become a hunter paladin, So you learn some of the paladin's moves like smite and the healing, but you can't learn the more powerful moves so that you don't become massively overpowered. It just allows you to customize your character and make it just a little bit different and give it more of a survivability aspect or more of a personal aspect. For example, I've never understood why in World of Warcraft, I don't mean the game, but in Azeroth, there are no mages who use a bow and arrow. And I mean NPCs story-wise, because surely they don't want to waste their precious mana when they need to go hunting for food. So why can't they pick up some of the hunter talents and be a mage / hunter? But in the case of mages, allow them to wear leather armor but not progress to mail armor. Don't let any one class progress beyond a mid-level of the spec. Their dual class. So if you start off as a paladin, you can still wear plate armor and every other type of armor, but you don't get all of the abilities of a mage if you choose to play as to dual class as a mage. You will learn like fireball and things like that. But it'd be interesting to see changes like that. I agree with Bellular in the fact that Blizzard should do something with player housing. My idea, however, would be more along the lines of, we already technically have player housing in retail because we have the garrisons from Warlords of Draenor. We literally do nothing with them anymore in retail. You've got your Hearthstone to it. You can have friends who are in a group with you come and see your garrison, but the garrisons aren't very personal. Just make some changes to that and allow the garrison to become your personal player housing. Give us things like display dummies so we can display armors that we got the transmog for. And if you do the same thing, a similar thing in Classic, or some version of Classic in the future, that would be absolutely fucking amazing. It would be brilliant, and it would be interesting, to say the very least. Now, I'd also love to see transmog come in the way it is in retail. I'd love to see the retail and Classic connected, so that if you get an item in Classic, you get the transmog in your retail account that is attached to your battle.net. So you can earn the transmogs for some rare items that are no longer available in retail, such as Atiash, the Great Staff. It'd be brilliant to be able to work your way to getting that in Classic. Then, once you've got it, you have the transmog for your characters in retail. It might even encourage people who are strictly playing Classic at the moment to play retail again once they've gotten to that point where they're just doing the end game content, which is raiding. It'd be interesting, and it would be fun, and it could bring a connection to the two. That's basically it. Like, I'm loving Classic WoW, and as I said, a few changes would be nice. I'm not going to complain if they don't make the changes, but a few of them would be nice. And of course, I doubt anybody at Blizzard, even if they ever discovered this vid, would ever actually do those changes, but it's just nice to talk about these things. I've started a guild in Classic WoW. on the European servers. I'm having fun playing with my guild members, and the game just feels so much more sociable. Straight off the bat, it's far more sociable. Well, better put this to bed and finish this vid. Thank you for watching, and as always, remember, play to game and game to play.